Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Mike with SmartOptionTrading.com. It's Sunday, the 10th of August. This is my week ahead video. I just do this video every week for my members, putting it out there free this week because I'm not doing charts. Why am I not doing charts? Well, I did charts last week. Not a heck of a lot's changed. It's summer. I'm taking a little bit more time for myself instead of the end of summer, and things are going to get really busy in September. So, a little time extra here and there, and to help reset and recharge the batteries. So we go into this week, and we don't have a heck of a lot going on overall. From an economic perspective, we do have CPI on Tuesday at 8:30. I'll open the room up early for that. We have PPI final on Thursday, retail sales, and Michigan consumer sentiment on Friday. So I'll open up the room early for you guys. So we'll trade that live at 8:30 on Tuesday and Thursday. From an earnings perspective, there are names here to watch and to trade. But in general, there's not really any market movers in here. Monday morning, nobody really catches my attention. Tuesday night, Monday night, you have OKLO, you have ASTS and Archer. We'll take a look at those in the space area. Tuesday morning, Circle, our first look at a report from them. That should be interesting. SE's in there and Pony AI, China name, and ONON, the retailer from Sweden. Tuesday night after the close, first look at CoreWeave, another big one. RGTI and Kava in there as well. Thursday night we have Cisco. Oh, sorry, Wednesday night we have Cisco reporting. Thursday morning, JD.com, John Deere, and Thursday night we have AMAT. By the way, if they're squared and and bold is a name I would consider trading after hours. Otherwise, I'm just interested in them. So overall, we don't have a heck of a lot going on here. From a market sentiment perspective, not a lot has really changed here. If you look what's going on the Nasdaq on the oscillator, negative 135, we're slightly oversold, but not big deal. On the New York Stock Exchange, negative 58. We're on the negative side of neutral. Your advanced decline lines continue to go flat despite the bounce on Friday. It didn't really change. Highs versus lows on the S&P 500, plus 62 versus negative 37, still positive. The NASDAQ, which has been going back and forth between positive and negative, back on the positive side of things, 178 versus negative 122, but it's narrow, right? And your put to call is neutral, right? We were bullish reading the other day, right back. Market breadth remains paused on the NASDAQ as well as the New York Stock Exchange. Just not a lot going on here at the moment. On the ES, so, let's talk about this. It's been a tough last couple of weeks. First of all, we broke out of this consolidation pattern here at the end of July, ran up, came back in, got to put a new all-time high in, sold it off for 2 days. Looked like we are going to get some type of better, more corrective action. Instead, right back up the following day, and then when going back and forth here, candles going all over the place on the ES. Not the easiest of action overall. I have not been really looking at the indexes, to be honest with you. They're not on my radar. The NQ, similar but almost back at all-time highs. Crude overall remains weak. Putin and Trump to meet in Alaska on the 15th to basically divide up Ukraine, I guess is what's going to happen there. Bonds remain overall weak after that little pop. Gold put in an all-time high, but now it's not clear if what's going on with tariffs against gold bullion. Bitcoin, everybody has their eyes on Bitcoin. It needs to break this 120 level, and this is the level. So I keep telling everybody it's 120, it's 120, it's 120, it's 120, and if you're looking at it, you're saying, it'll get there. It will. At some point, it's going to take it out. It's a heavily watched trade right now, and you can just see it sitting here. We come up in that area, and we've had time, digesting, but overall, still looks good. The VIX, we talked about how it came right back inside the Bollinger Bands one day out and then right back in, and look at this almost back to the recent lows. HYG, nothing going on here. It's not leading, it's lagging the markets, but it's holding in. The transports overall remain out of play, and the dollar has remained very weak and heading back towards the lows. So on the S&P 500, we're going to come into this week. First of all, we took out this downtrend. We got our 3% pullback, and we keep drawing this line and redrawing it, and it just doesn't matter. So, first we drew it down. First we drew it like this. We took that out. Then we drew it like this. And now I guess we can draw it like this. But the bottom line is this market continues to look like it wants to go in and put a new all-time high. Is the seasonality against us? Yep. Does this market care? It does not. Is it getting a little thin out there in terms of the names making highs? Absolutely. But does the market care? Nope. So, if you're looking just to short a market because of that, this thing can go on for much longer than you can anticipate. So for me, I'm just looking for things to trade every day, and I'm not adding long-term positions right now. If this 3% pullback is all we're going to get, then so be it. That's all we're going to get. I'll play my game and I'll continue to make money and I'll reload when we get an actual real buyable dip that's more than 2 days old. For this week, as long as you continue to hold the 21 day, we're very strong. The 21 day sitting here on the red line right around the 629 area. So we'll see. We'll see what the market wants to do this week. So let's talk about some sectors out there. Let's start off with the financials, right? The financials overall remain weaker and out of play. Not much going on here. JP Morgan has lost 21 day until it retakes the 21 day. This is out of play. We'll see if it holds a 50. Goldman slightly stronger, more go to. Wells Fargo, nothing going on here. Bank of America, same thing. Citigroup, one of the better names there. In the payment space, let's talk real quick. You know, that report out of Block wasn't good, but their guidance was very good. But the market sold it. And that's not the type of candle you ever want to see, right? When you see a big gap up like that, and not only does it come back and fill the gap, it engulfs the previous 5 days of action before that, and you get this beautiful big red candle, tells you the market doesn't like it. Affirm tried to break out last week, broke out, had a nice move. It came down with that. There's definitely some workings here. PayPal also looking a little vulnerable. UPST, same type of deal, right? None of the payment space looking great. What is looking good in this sector still is SoFi. SoFi continues to look good. I think it's a buys off the 21 day, or if we get a market pull or reclaiming of it, I think that was a game changing report. It still looks very good. Energy, it's hard to like energy in this space right now. If Russian oil is going to become loose sanctions, come more back online, good for the economy, but oil is going to be cheap, and that is just not good for oil. So Chevron just kind of hanging out a little stronger. ExxonMobil, the same thing. Oxy, not a lot going on in this space. The home builders here remain, I'm sorry, biotech here remains weak. The 200-day can't be beat. It's holding the 50-day. Um, Lilly here getting beaten up. Their earnings were fine. Their guidance was great, but their oral drug, while people are saying with great numbers, it did not hit the percentages that they were looking for, and it's getting beat back down here. And, that's a problem. This is a 52 plus week low for it, and now it is getting way off their highs. And, you can see this moves up. It could come all the way back down here into this 589 area. All right, so overall, we'll see how that's going to trade, but overall looking weak on Lilly. J&J had the best report out there and has continued to move. That's not bad. Merck, nothing going on. Pfizer, right? You get the idea. There's just not a lot going on in this space. Gilead, good report, stronger, new all-time highs. What else? Let's talk about some names like Boeing. That report, they sold it. It's come, running back up. Cat, the report was okay, but it's run a ton. You're seeing a lot of moves like that where these names just aren't holding in. In retail, kind of messy, but Costco has regained the 200-day, and you'll see if it can break back above there. Next move would be back to 1,000. Walmart has broken out and has run up and to fill this gap here. It went up, filled this gap, and your all-time high at 105.30. So there's some strength there. Baba, nothing going on here in many China names right now. We have earnings come up in a couple weeks on there. And it's, overall fairly quiet there in that space. The semis, sideways, right? Overall going fine. Overall semis earnings have not been great. They want the names they want. NVIDIA, all-time highs, right? Get it pushed again, right back up, looks good. AMD, they sold the hell of that report. It wasn't a bad report, but guidance was lighter than they like. But the market seems to be front running. It's been front running for the last 3 months. So watch this downtrend. Came up, pushed through it, couldn't hold it. We'll see if it can get above it and go back to that 180, 182.50 area. I'm sorry, 180.50. Yeah, 180. Yeah, 182.50 area. If not, we'll see if it holds the 21 day. Keeping up all right. Avgo, similar type thing. Whole looks great. Earnings coming there soon. Micron's trying to wake up. You had a big candle on that. China is pushing the U.S. to remove restrictions on memory for their AI chips coming out of Hawaii. So there are other companies. Watch that 125 level. Outside of that, Taiwan Semi, Qualcomm, Intel. None of these names look particularly good. Let's go over to crypto, coin. Coin, that report was bad, hasn't even sniffed this gap yet. It's been trading around. If Bitcoin runs, see if it can push back up and test that gap. But overall, I think this 277.70 area could be in play. No names went into the S&P 500 on Friday. New names were added. Hood put in a new all-time ahead of this. It held in fine after hours, and there's no lack of announcement. This is just one of those names right now they want. Got all the way to 117. I can see this just keep pushing until it gets into the S&P 500. So, dips to the 8-day probably look to be bought there. And software, Palantir has just been ungodly on a rampage, put in a new all-time high off their earnings report, never even cared about earnings, came back down. There's a fib level up here that is pushing into. That's why that line is up there, which basically got to on Friday. Oracle, great report. Waiting now probably for the next one, taking some time to digest. Microsoft, this is Microsoft. They had run a lot from the last report down, basically filled this gap. Watch that 21 day. If that holds, it's fine. Meta has gone into consolidation mode, but it's stronger still. As long as it holds that 8-day, it remains in position to move up. I like it above 780. And then we'll see if it can take out that 794 and break above 800. Amazon, the report, they didn't like it. They bought a lot of the weakness back, not all of it. It pushed into that gap. Again, I like it back above that high of this week here to see if it can get back in that gap and push up higher and run itself back up to the 231 area. And then we'll see if it can get back up above 236 and go for the all-time high. Speaking of all-time highs, Google just looks to me like it just wants it. Google just very strong move here. Came in, filled the gap to the bottom of the candle. The gap actually closes up near the all-time high. The close there on that is 207, sorry, 206.38. Nice breakout. I would look for a day two out of Google above the high and then see if we can get up and make a new all-time high. Google, one of the stronger names in the market. Let's talk Tesla here. Tesla, so this woke up for no particular reason. We had a nice 3-day move. You see a lot of lines here. First off, it took out this downtrend from, way back here from the highs of 488. And then it decided to push through and up to the second downtrend. Why do I have two? One comes off the high, the other one comes off this recent high. Both are valid, right? So we know this one had validity because it kept stopping here. Now this one's in play. So above that, we'll see if it can run. But overall, waking up. Again, they're coming back. They're forgiving everything. Amazon, nice. I'm sorry, Amazon. Apple, like we did Apple, huge 3-day move. I still own stock that I bought back in here, and we'll see. I'm probably looking to sell. I think the next move would be up in that 240 area, but after this big 3-day move, probably needs a day or two or three for to digest. Look how far behind the moving averages are. What else? Let's talk quickly. Shop had a good report. Trading up here. Right now you'd look for it to take out that all-time high if it can hold. APP, good report, moving up on the last couple of days. Here's your all-time high of 525. Wouldn't chase it, but it looks like it wants it. TTDs in the penalty box. I mean, that was just ugly and just beaten to a pulp, and we'll see what happens. And we'll see what we get this week. Bottom line is, I'm not looking to try to short. If you want to hedge this in this market, I don't think hedging is a bad idea. I've been lightening up. I do think that we'll get a pullback more than this little quick 3% at some point in the non too distant future. But, I don't think it's going to be anything special. And translation, what I mean by that is this market is not done going up. This AI trade is still very strong. It's just rotating around. And, you'll find new names to take it and lead us forward. If you want to join us, I'll put a link in the description below. We'd love you to have you in our room in Discord and on Zoom. And I hope you guys are all having a wonderful weekend. Thanks for listening.